You're listening to Espresso Knowledge. I'm your host, Sensei of Stories. Every week, I adapt research stories from Canadian universities for my podcast. The length of each story is the time it takes me to make a shot of espresso. This week, we have stories from University of British Columbia, McGill University, and University of Saskatchewan. Enjoy! The scent of our romantic partner helps us sleep better and reduces stress, according to UBC researchers Marlies Hofer and Francis Chen. In one experiment, participants using their partner's shirts as pillow covers slept better, longer, and more peacefully. Sleep improvements were similar to those recorded for sleep aids like melatonin. In another experiment, women smelt a shirt worn by their romantic partner before, during, and after a stressful mock job interview. Women smelling their partner's shirt had lower stress before and after the interview. Hofer and Chen suggest protective benefits of a partner's scent may be strongest when people are aware that they're smelling their partner. Both are trying to understand how scents, whether it be romantic partners or parents and children, affect health. Could we possibly improve our well-being, such as taking a partner's scarf or shirt along when traveling? This story was adapted for Espresso Knowledge from Hofer and Chen's article in The Conversation. University of Saskatchewan researchers, led by Doctors Saija Kontulainen and Munir Noor, are providing the first evidence of how bone strength develops in children with type 1 diabetes in comparison to their healthy peers. The data will help understand bone fragility in type 1 diabetes and will improve guidelines of diabetes care, including preventing fractures across the lifespan. Children and adults with type 1 diabetes have weakened bone strength and are at a higher risk of fracture. So far, the reasons are not well understood. Researchers will use state-of-the-art, high-resolution, non-invasive bone imaging tools to evaluate bone health, structure, and density. For the past 2 years, the team has recruited children and youth ages 8 to 14. They will also measure, among other things, height, weight, muscle performance, and growth hormones in participants. This story was adapted for Espresso Knowledge from Elissa Weeb's USask News article. Complaints from patients and their family members should not be ignored because it can lead to violence against nurses. A new University of British Columbia study for the first time shows that hospitals can protect nurses' safety by tracking and addressing these complaints. Researchers found that nurses received an average of 1 complaint a month and experienced emotional or physical abuse from patients or their families with about the same frequency. Here's a possible explanation. Nurses are often short-staffed and under large workloads. Their performance suffers. Patients get frustrated and they complain. And if those aren't addressed quickly, they get aggressive towards the nurses. Injuries, stress, and burnout leads to more decline in quality of patient care. The study encourages improvements, for example, better matching patient needs with individual nurses' competencies and experience levels. This story was adapted for Espresso Knowledge from Thomas Horasek's UBC News article. Boys with inattention-hyperactivity at age 10 are at a higher risk for traumatic brain injuries or TBIs later in life. Treatments to reduce these behaviors may decrease TBI risk. The McGill-led research is the first to show that childhood behaviors like inattention hyperactivity predicted subsequent TBIs. It also showed that boys with TBIs during childhood were at a greater TBI risk in adolescence. TBIs are the leading cause of death and disability in children and young adults. But there is little research about TBI prevention. Researchers suggest prevention strategies such as promoting cyclist safety. Currently, there are treatments to decrease the severity of childhood inattention hyperactivity and behavioral problems. Future trials will determine if these can also decrease the risk for future TBIs. This story was adapted for Espresso Knowledge from McGill News. When parents love each other, their children stay in school longer and marry later in life. A joint McGill University and University of Michigan research studied families in Nepal. They tracked married couples and children for 12 years. They found that parents' emotional connection to each other affected child rearing so much that it shaped their children's future. The researchers are now trying to figure out why parental love impacts children in this way. They think that when parents love each other, they tend to invest more in their children, leading to children remaining in education longer. A loving home environment also makes it less likely that children will escape into their own marriages. In fact, children may view their parents as role models and take longer to seek similar marriages. This story was adapted for Espresso Knowledge from McGill News. Thanks for listening. Check out researchstoryteller.com for links to this episode's articles. I'm your host, Sensei of Stories.